To you, Mr. Chair, we're now live streaming on YouTube.
And we're comfortable we have a quorum. We have all three members available.
Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Richmond Hill. I would ask that we would start this evening's meeting with the reading of the preamble, please.
Today's Committee of Adjustment meeting is hereby held as an electronic meeting. The Committee of Adjustment for the City of Richmond Hill has been appointed by Council to consider applications for minor variance and consent in accordance with the Planning Act. The committee's decision may be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal. All appeals and associated fees must be filed directly with the Secretary Treasurer in accordance with the Planning Act. To be notified of an Ontario Land Tribunal hearing, you must request a copy of the committee's decision in writing. Written comments. The public may submit written correspondence regarding agenda matters by email to committeeofadjustment@richmondhill.ca. All written correspondence received by 4:30 p.m. today has been provided to the committee members electronically. Electronic delegations. Delegates are reminded to please mute your microphone or phone and turn off video until it is your turn to speak. Please make sure your microphone is not muted when you begin speaking. If members do not have questions or after all questions have been asked, your delegation is over. Please sign off of Zoom or hang up the phone once the committee has made a decision on your application. And you can watch the rest of the live stream, and the clerk may remove any delegate who does not sign off of Zoom.
Thank you. Our Secretary Treasurer is Mrs. Jamie Hope Herman. Our Assistant Secretary Treasurer is Ms. Linda Asikas. And assisting us this evening from Planning Department is Ms. Catherine Faria. Do we have any conflicts of interest this evening, gentlemen?
No, I do not.
Very good. And do we have any requests for adjournment or withdrawal?
To you, Mr. Chair, yes, we have item B on the agenda this evening. It is minor variance application A00122 at 549 Sunset Beach. It was determined this afternoon that there was a variance that was missed. It was an oversight. And there's also comments through the site plan. So staff will continue to work with the applicant, and we will bring this application back to a committee meeting at a later date.
Very good. Thank you. I'm going to remove agenda item B A001/22. Our first item this evening is application A010/22 at 511 Sunset Beach Road. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application?
To you, Mr. Chair, we do not.
And our applicant, who has been patiently waiting for us for the past 40 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Richard Kosak. I'm the agent for the owners at 511 Sunset Beach Road. We're here to ask for one variance. And the one variance is a deficiency in overall lot coverage of approximately 1.05%. 20% is allowed, and we're proposing 21.05. That's all of our variances, and I can answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much. Does anyone in the audience wish to address this application at 511 Sunset Beach Road?
To you, Mr. Chair, yes, we have the resident from 501 Sunset Beach Road.
Thank you. And go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good
Actually,
afternoon.
we were not sure if the mute button is working because we tried several times to speak, but nobody actually listened that. So at least we know that the mute button is working. You have a question.
Yeah, so just wondering which way the land expansion is going. Is it going east-west for the overall size, or is it north-south, or a combination of the both?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that question. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, for the land variance of the 21%, is that 1%? Which way? I was just wondering which way that 1% is going. Is it overall going center out in all directions, or is it going one way to the east, one way to the west for the over coverage of the lot maximum?
Well, I'll leave that question to our applicant to answer, but I'm not sure there's any clear definition, but go ahead, sir. Give it a try.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is an odd question to answer because the overall coverage is just part of the footprint, but maybe the neighbor is asking more if we're squeezing a side yard of some sort, but the answer to that would be no. We do meet all the required side yards, front yards, rear yards, so we're not encroaching on any of those areas, if maybe that's what he's getting at. The overall coverage is 1%. It's spread out through the whole project. It's just a number that kind of made the whole footprint grow, but we're not any closer to any property lines than the zoning allows. So I'm not sure if that would answer the neighbor's question.
That does, yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions?
I do not at this time.
Thank you. Does anyone else in the audience wish to address this application at 511 Sunset Beach Road?
To you, Mr. Chair, we do not.
And do we have any further comments from Planning Department?
Through Mr. Chair, no further comment.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any comments, questions, concerns?
Not from me.
Not from me either.
In that case, gentlemen, I will entertain a motion. Mr.
Okay.
Master.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that application number A010/22, located at 511 Sunset Beach Road, be approved with all the conditions contained therein.
Moved by Member Master, seconded by Member.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I would second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Duretzi. Seconded by Mr. Duretzi. All in favor? I see two hands and one voice.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Our next application is application B002/22 at 46 Birch Avenue. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application?
To you, Mr. Chair, we have none.
And our applicant.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, yes.
Nicole Rogano, representing the owners of B002/22. There was a little bit of dialogue back and forth today in regards to some of the conditions that I believed were clarified. I do want to note one item, and just wondering the bylaw number in regards to the condition number 4 from development and engineering, referring back to the service connections required to be paid and installed upon completions of the severance. That's a bylaw requirement. I'm wondering if there's a bylaw number referring to that.
You're talking about condition number 4 in,
That's correct.
if I read correct, ensure that any easements required. Is that the one you're referring to?
It actually has to do with not only easements, but specifically the fees and main service installations for the severed lot.
Oh, I see. Okay, further down the page there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please help me, Jamie. Who can answer this question for us?
To you, Mr. Chair, I believe that the bylaw is in the staff report. Let me just, if you can give me a moment, I'll take a look through the staff report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I assume you're talking about the fees for the water service, combined water service with sanitary, disconnect water service, water disconnected and a combined trench and sanitary or storm connection. Are those the fees you're talking about?
The fees, I can see they're noted in the staff report, but there's supposed to be a bylaw reference number that main services are to be provided and installed prior to a severance, from my understanding, with the dialogue that I've had back and forth with development and engineering.
You, Mr. Chair, the bylaw number that I can see in the staff report is on page number 4, and it references the tariff of fees bylaw 10819.
Okay, I see that.
There, I see it now, honestly.
In the 4th paragraph. Right behind the 2nd paragraph after further grading related information.
And and that's confirmed that it's required for the severance and not for the building permit, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is a part of the Committee of Adjustment consent process. Unfortunately, I can't speak to the building permit process.
Very clear. Thank you so much. Just wanted to make sure. We have no issues with any of the conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone in the audience wish to address this application at 46 Birch Avenue?
That's you, Mr. Chair. We have none.
And any further comments from our planning department?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no further comment.
Gentlemen, comments, questions, concerns?
None.
I have none.
Very good, thank you. And I will entertain a motion.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would motion that consent application B002/22 at 46 Birch Avenue be approved, subject to the terms and conditions in the city's staff report.
Moved by member Duretzi, seconded by member Master. All in favor?
In
I
favor.
see 2 hands and I hear a voice. Thank you very much. It's approved.
Thank you all. Have a beautiful night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Our next application is application A084/21 at 7 Cartier Crescent. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application?
That's you, Mr. Chair. We have none.
And our applicant.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Yes. Yeah. So we don't have anything further to say. It's just that we wanted to increase the land coverage from 30% to 35.36.
Very good.
Yep.
And you have a copy of the staff report?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good. Does anyone in the audience wish to address this application at 7 Cartier Crescent?
That's you, Mr. Chair. We have none.
And any further comments from planning?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no further comment.
Gentlemen, comments, questions, concerns?
None from me.
No further comment.
We'll entertain a motion. Mr. Master.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I move that application number A084/21 located at 7 Cartier Crescent be approved with all the conditions contained therein.
Moved by member Master, seconded by member.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I second that motion.
Seconded by member Duretzi. All in favor?
In favor.
I see 2 hands and hear 1 voice. We're approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good evening. Our next application is application A032/21 at 8763 Bayview Avenue, units 7 to 10. Do we have any additional correspondence on this application?
Through Mr. Chair, we did receive a comment and/or objection letter from the tenant of 122-8763 Bayview Avenue, and that was received today, May 26th.
Okay. And our applicant.
Good afternoon, Jonathan Minskowski.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good evening. So this proposal was originally deferred at a previous hearing. Part of the reason for the deferral was to gather a little bit more information as to some of the issues that both the tenants and the residents of this condo building had towards this proposal. So this was subject to a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment back in 2013 that permitted a mixed-use building. Within that site-specific bylaw, there was a limit that capped the amount of medical space within the commercial area itself. So the request before you today is not for a use that is not permitted. So the medical use is permitted. The request is actually for an extra 50 square meters of medical use within the existing commercial area. So an as of right proposal of essentially less one of the units would not be subject to a committee of adjustment application. So what was then submitted in support was a planning study that was submitted and reviewed by city staff that really evaluated the parking issues and said there is no parking deficiency or any type of issues resulting from this additional area of a medical use. So what I've done is I've visited the site a couple of times to look and feel. There are medical uses that are located within it. Most likely, in my opinion, from a planning point of view, the intent of limiting the medical use itself into a certain percentage is to stop this from basically looking like a medical center that may have something like a imaging in terms of doctors and things like that. In my opinion, the extra 50 square meters or 538 square meters that we're requesting is minor in nature, and it would not create any adverse impacts on the existing building, as this is grade related. That's the next thing. These are grade related units that face Bayview, that face a busy shopping mall across the street. I believe this is appropriate and desirable, as it would be a dental office with one practitioner, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience wish to address this application at 8763 Bayview Avenue?
Yes, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have the tenant from 122-8763 Bayview Avenue.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yes, my name is Marty Fries. I am a tenant at Unit 122 in the other dental clinic that's currently operating. I have a problem with the table from the transportation study. It's not accurate. And regardless of the visual appearance of it from Bayview, I can tell you the parking has been and continues to be a very serious problem. First of all, they are saying that they don't want to max the cap of 20%. Their chart does not properly label the psychotherapy clinic, which is called unit number 4 in their measurement of medical use space, nor does it encompass unit 13, which is also a medical space. Now the unit 13 is 26.0 meters square. That should be added on. And I have no idea the size of the bridge dialogue unit on the other side, but I assume it would be that or slightly larger. That should be a tallied as part of the total before they determine what 20% capping is. The next problem is the earlier zoning requirement part. Their parking allowed for 5 spots per practitioners in various locations. And again, they don't actually accurately reflect the number of practitioners working in the various units. The second problem I have is if this applicant is suggesting that a unit of the size four merged building units is actually only housing one single practitioner, I find that a little troubling because I don't know of any dental office that operates with one single practitioner in it of that size. And so they will not only be bringing with them staff, but they will bring with them multiple patients. And as a tenant who's been in that building since 2018, along with my other healthcare neighbors, we can tell you the parking has been and continues to be a very serious problem.
Okay. Is there anything else?
For me, well, I don't have, just, if I understand from the parking study, which I finally received a week ago, I've been asking for a year, that the planning people had said they had serious questions about the legitimacy and the validity of this justification study, as they did it during summer vacation days in a closed down period, a slow reopening of COVID. And also, I might add that currently in medical and dental environments, you have to have appointment-based patients. We can't have crowds of people waiting in the waiting room. So when their study states that these operating are under appointments, that doesn't minimize the volume of traffic. It doesn't mean they're not coming in. It means they're just seeing people on an hourly basis, one at a time. So the fact no one can approach me to ask any questions, they basically assume I need one parking spot and I'm an appointment-based business that works very short hours, which is false. I work 6 days a week. Yes, it's appointment-based because I admit one patient at a time. There's more than just me. I have 3 practitioners, and the parking is and continues to be a problem. And we discussed this at the last meeting. There are 12 underground parking spots that they have part of their calculated total deemed visitor parking, but a commercial tenant or customer, nor can a patient attending a medical appointment cannot access those 12 parking spots because there's no door and it's dangerous. And they have to walk down the driveway in order to access that spot. And then they have to walk back up the dark driveway through the parking lot to get to Bayview to then attend a medical appointment. So I cannot imagine that this application can be approved without some serious consideration to adding more parking, or if there's no way to resolve the parking issue, I cannot imagine that there's any way that this, unfortunately, that this variance can be approved.
Thank you. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
more?
No, not from me.
Thank you. Does anyone else in the audience wish to address this application at 8763 Bayview Avenue?
Mr. Chair, we do have the tenant 123 8763 Bayview Avenue. And just as a side note, the application is not use parking spaces. It is for commercial gross floor area, just to clarify the reason for the application.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, hello, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'd spoken with both of you, or all of you, when the variance was first, when we first met a few months ago, and I believe there was supposed to be some sort of meeting among stakeholders in order to try and find a solution. And I just wanted to clarify that that meeting never occurred, and so nothing's really been resolved. The same issues stand. I too read some of the parking information that was provided, and there were a lot of problems in that report. And so without meeting, I'm not quite sure how we're going to be able to rectify this. There's also, I want to clarify and add that there's a heritage house just north of the building on the same side of Bayview, and that will be opening soon for real estate business. And I believe that with that additional parking burden, it is going to create a bigger problem. And I'm just wondering if it's possible to include a request to get all the stakeholders involved so we can have a good conversation about how we can come to a solution in this.
I'm not sure how this committee is going to be able to help you resolve that issue, but we will take that into consideration when we discuss this. Is there any other points you'd like to make?
No, not right now. I do support what Marty Fries has commented on, and I really hope that we can come to a solution in this, because this is going to be an ongoing problem.
Thank you. Does anyone else in the audience wish to address this application? 8763 Bayview Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we have Poria with us. Poria, if you can just let us know your address, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair. My name is Poria Fisharaki, and my address is at 12 Physical Court. It's actually on Briggs Avenue, just the next street after 8763 Bayview Avenues. It's in the same neighborhood. Thank you for giving me this time to speak. I want to start with introducing myself. As I said, my name is Poria Fisharaki. I'm the son of Dr. Shide, the owner of Unit 7, 8, 9, 10 of 8763 Bayview Avenue, and the proposed dental clinic for these 4 units. So I just want to start with saying that me and my mom, we have immigrated to Canada in the year 2013, and it's been an extremely difficult process, especially for my mom, who was a dentist practitioner for over 20 years in my home country, and she's been through very tough times, working part-time, studying through her exams, and being able to become a licensed dentist again, close to her 50s, and being able to work in Canada and being able to build a future for her children. And I just want to mention that my mother, she has more than 25 years of experience in being a dentist. She's been working super hard, and her only goal and dream in this moving to Canada and here was that she would be able to open her own dental clinic. And we've been waiting on permit for this for the proposed buildings because of the medical usage for more than 2 years. For almost 2 years. This includes COVID time, which everything was extended. So I wanted to say that this is not only a business that is being proposed. This is someone's life savings. This is someone's dreams.
Ours?
Sorry, please do not interrupt.
I'm sorry, I thought my mic was off.
Thank you. So this is someone's life savings. This is someone's dreams. This is mother who's worked so super hard, and she just wants to open a business for herself, for her family, for her daughter who's going to be a dentist. It's in her neighborhood. It's less than a 5-minute walk from her house to this clinic. And we've been living in this neighborhood in the past 6 or 7 years. I've been going to the building myself multiple times. There are always, even in the rush hour time, there are always parking spots available on the ground parking lot and in the visitor parking lot, which is an underground parking lot, available as well. And there is perfectly safe entrance for people from the underground parking lot to the main level and the retail units. And there's also parking available on the Bayview Avenue. And there's also a very big Loblaws and gas station plaza just across the street with many parking spaces. I just wanted to mention that. Second point I wanted to mention is that the medical usage for this property, for the overall to whole complex, is 1,977 square meters, and I'm sorry, 197.7 square meters. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna correct the information. The overall medical usage for the building is 1,300 square meters, and 197.7 square meters of it is already occupied, which the remaining is 62.3 square meters. And the 4 units combined together are our 4 units combined together is going to be totally under 100 square meters. So eventually, either 4 units or 2 units is going to be a dental clinic. So either it's going to be a bigger dental clinic or it's going to be a smaller dental clinic with 2 other small businesses that the land is going to be rented out. So if there is 3 businesses opening up in this area, it's not going to help no one. It's not going to help the parking problem, or it's not going to help anything. If it's going to be a bigger dental clinic as a 4 units, it's the applicant is only requesting for only 38 square meters addition to the permit that is already there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone else in the audience wish to address this application, 8763 Bayview Avenue?
Through Mr. Chair, we do not.
And do we have any further comments from our planning department?
Through Mr. Chair, no further comment.
Thank you. Let me start off the discussion on this particular issue with a couple of comments. First of all, what this committee is looking at is a variance for the purpose of increasing the space from 232 square meters to 281 square meters. We're not dealing with a parking issue here. What this committee is looking at is a parking study that apparently has been approved by the city planners and provided to them and to us, and they are content that that parking is fine. That issue is not up to discussion here at the Committee of Adjustment. Committee of Adjustment is dealing with the issue of a minor variance for increased space. I know I've heard an awful lot of discussion about parking issues. I'm going to suggest to you that if you have a problem with the parking study, that's not with this committee. That is probably with either the city or with your the condominium owner who's putting up all this space. As for the use as a medical clinic, again, it's approved with a variance being proposed before us to increase the size to accommodate these 4 units. And it's my personal opinion that I don't have a problem with what's put before us in terms of the minor variance. I will leave that to further discussion to my 2-member committee members, Mr. Master and to Mr. Duretzi. Mr. Master.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to address this question to our planning staff. Since we don't see any variances for parking, I'm assuming that the additional medical space, which is roughly 50 square meters, has not triggered any. Normally, I know that medical spaces require a higher ratio of parking than regular commercial space. So increasing the medical space has not triggered any variances. So I'm assuming that they're still complying with the bylaw requirements for parking. Can you confirm that?
Mr. Chair, the bylaw 2413 provides for a rate of 2.5 parking spaces per 100 square meters. And this is for the medical, the commercial and office use, but it does cap the medical at 20% or 260 square meters. In this case, that my understanding is that is the specific provision that the applicant is seeking to vary, specifically with respect to the maximum gross floor area that is allotted to medical use. And that is the variance that is specifically being asked in this case.
So in an indirect way, it does trigger a parking issue, would you say?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this has been reviewed by our transportation staff, and they have no concerns with the proposal with respect to parking.
Okay, thank you so much. I needed to know that. I appreciate it. No more questions.
Thank you. Mr. Duretzi, any comments?
Through you, Mr. Chair, a couple of comments. It sounded like at the last meeting and at this meeting as well that we're dealing with an existing parking issue that the stakeholders and ownership are speaking about. Sounds like there's 12 spaces that seem to be landlocked, so to speak, no access to those spaces. So it sounds like it's more of a condo issue, an ownership and a stakeholder issue that they need to sit down and see how they can accommodate and perhaps take advantage of some spaces that really aren't accessible. I mean, that's one issue. The other thing I'm hearing this word adding space or adding space. Well, this building is not growing. We're just redesignating an additional 500 square feet to medical use from its capped 2,500 square feet. So to be holding this applicant ransom and to blame for the existing parking issues that are there, I don't think is fair in considering this application. There's also in the transportation study, traffic study comments that allude to the fact that there's also parking along Bayview Avenue, although it's not part of the parking count, it's available for parking, a 3-hour limit for those who might need it. And then there is that, an ongoing concern about, providing the highest amount of minimum parking requirements, over time. It's just not an efficient use of land. We should be actually encouraging, more public transit, et cetera, rather than adding more parking and just gobbling up the land and creating more hard surface and cause more environmental issues. So I concur with both my fellow committee members. I don't particularly have an issue with this application and the variance that is before us this evening. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion. Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's Miss Kim has another question if you don't mind entertaining her question.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, this is a question to the planning department.
Go ahead.
If there's 23 available spots and for a medical use, it would be 2.5 parking spots that would be required. If there are 23 commercial units and 23 available spots, how do we come up with the extra 2.5 spots for each practitioner? How would we be able to accommodate that? And especially knowing that the 12 underground are not accessible to outside people, including commercial unit owners, because we need a fob in order to access those spots safely. I'm just wondering how they came about to approve the variance that was given to them.
We can ask planning that question. I'm not sure it's a fair question for our planning department. It's probably better focused or better aimed at our transportation group, but go ahead, please. See if you can help us out here.
Through Mr. Chair. So I just would reiterate that based on, as shown in the information in the staff report, the rate is calculated as 2.5 spaces as opposed to practitioners. So it's calculated on the basis of gross floor area. As for any other details with respect to how the parking is distributed, that wouldn't be my area of expertise. So I wouldn't be able to provide, as I'm not a transportation planner, as I wouldn't be able to provide any other specific details on that matter.
Thank you. I see one more hand there, but if it's a question to do with the parking study, I'm sorry, but I won't allow it.
It's not a question about the parking study.
Okay, go ahead.
It is a question of, can we then have a meeting and you could convene the transportation people to come and explain the basis of their decision? Because their bylaw states that there was in 2010, healthcare spots were to have 5.4 spots per. It's on their study. And they capped it and took away all those spots. And rather than allocating 5.4 and 2, depending on the level and the number of practitioners, they capped it at 20% maximum square ground footage. to say that it's okay for retail to have 2 point whatever parking spots when they've actually already cut the parking requirement down, when they changed the zoning bylaw to cap it. I can't believe this isn't considered a transportation issue. And I feel it would be grossly unfair to the rest of us who have worked in the business for 22 years and invested our hard-earned cash and are trying to live our dream of feeding our young families as well. I believe it wouldn't be fair to make any decision without allowing the transportation people to explain their justification of the study.
I'm going to suggest to you that that is a meeting that you can arrange with our transportation department to review.
But are you
the
not going to
parking
be
study.
are you going to be making a decision to grant or disallow this variance right this moment though? Or are you going to give us time to have that meeting?
We are going to address a minor variance for space, not for a parking study. This committee is not dealing with a parking issue.
The space is not being represented accurately as part of the zoning bylaws of the city of Richmond Hill.
Gentlemen, I'm going to entertain a motion at this time.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I move the minor variance application A032/21 at 8763 Bayview Avenue, units 7 to 10, be approved subject to the terms and conditions in the city's staff report.
Moved by member Duretzi, seconded by member Master. All in favor? I see 3 hands
In favor.
and 1 voice. It's approved. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, to our Secretary Treasurer, I'm going to suggest you let us know when we can carry on with these 5 items of other business.
I sure will. Be right back.